DP, what's our ITL this week?
Well, we've got part 2 of the recording connection into the Lair, where we went and shared some time and spent some time with John King at Chung. He's going to continue a little bit of what we were talking about last week, and then a little more emphasis on mixing this week. Take it away.
Cool.
The one thing I always like to get across to everybody is you don't need to go out and buy the biggest, shiniest chrome round microphone that God has to offer you. You can go, what are the 3 most favorite microphones for starters? I like, I say, get an SM57 or an SM7 if you got a couple extra bucks. You get a condenser microphone, you can get any one of the decent condenser microphones, but also get a ribbon, get a Royer. Royer makes a inexpensive ribbon mic. Audio-Technica makes some incredibly new ribbon mics that are professional. But the bunker buster I was talking about is the Audio-Technica 5040, which is just an incredible microphone. It's like looking through a 50 by 50 foot perfectly clean window at the world.
Wow.
It doesn't have any distortion. One of the things about a round capsule microphone, it's like a bucket of water. You drop a penny in and you see the ripples go back and forth. Well, the sound's doing the same thing. That's why they're bright. It's because you're hearing the same sound, going back and forth across the dimension of the capsule. So that might be a little too technical for some, but they sound that brightness that everybody likes on condenser microphones can get a little over bright if you use it too much. And that subtlety of a ribbon microphone, you can always make it brighter. You can always make a mouse bigger, but you can't make the elephant smaller, which is the size of a microphone, right?
I'm stealing that too.
Yeah, well, it's like I mean, I talk about this all the time. It's like if you want to get a rock vocal in through a track, you make a baseball, like throw it through the trees, it makes it through. Take a beach ball, throw it through the trees, it bounces off the leaves. So you don't want a huge signal. You want a small signal that's nice and clear and loud, which is why I like the 421. I mean, one of my other favorite microphones for this that I'm not up here today is a Beyer M88. It kind of does everything. It's like a really good dynamic microphone that doesn't have overshoot, and you find that sometimes it's the overshoot of the condenser microphones which makes it difficult in digital, because digital is it's unrelenting in its clarity, including its top end spurious distortions and stuff. So I like to teach people that different microphones do different things. And when you start to put together your dynamic platform together, you might find that your SM57 is the microphone. You might have a really expensive microphone in the closet, but the SM57, as you know, the SM7. I mean, like Michael Jackson, what was one of his favorite microphones? SM7.
Yeah.
Right. And he sounded pretty good, as I remember.
I always say that my island microphone would be the U87, but I'm starting to rethink that. I'm thinking maybe my island microphone, if I'm stranded on an island with one microphone, I'm thinking it would be the SM7. I think I'm starting to change.
I always said if I had only one microphone and that's all I was allowed to have, it'd be a U87, and then I decided it would probably be the SM7 and the U87. Well, you know what? We've known each other for a short while, but
That's wild. Justin, what's your opinion about what you're learning? Are you finding this eye-opening or what?
Oh, it's extremely eye-opening. I mean, when I started doing music, I had very little knowledge of everything I was doing. I used a Rode NT2A, which is a cheap microphone condenser, and ever since I met John, I mean, I've wanted to get my hands on every different kind of mic I can just to hear and experiment, because I was the kind of person that threw EQs and the compressors, everything I could get my hands on to make it sound as best as I could. And now I know that's not the case.
And there's nothing wrong with being a digital freak. That's fine. As long as the output product is fine. He's actually very good at doing his home recordings. But what I thought was funny, I gave him a ribbon to take home. And he brought it back and he said, he says, I can't get it to work. It's all dull. And I'm going like, well, where'd you put it?
Right here.
It's like right here. That's like, no, put it over here. Yep. Turn the gain up. Use a nice, like today we're using Wonder mic pre's. I just want to give a shout out to Wonder mic pre's because I like them a lot. It's kind of like a Neve mic pre, same dynamic platform, same slight compression, but nice bandwidth,
That must be amazing to have John King trust you taking a microphone home. That's got to be amazing.
No, it's definitely a big honor. I mean, his son's in the corner over here, and it's hard for his son to take stuff home, and sometimes it's crazy. It's still the fact that I was able to bring something home, I was like, holy crap.
He also helps me clean up my studio.
Yeah, it's like,
Well, you
Give and
got
take.
you got to pay a little extra to get access to the king.
that's
you know?
right. I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know what? He's neat. He's precise, and I'm glad to have him here today because he's a fun person to work with because he likes. I mean, I use really simple concepts to describe very complicated physical processes, like spectral density. Most people are not that into spectral density, but they do understand the balloon. You know, it's the same thing. You know, one is pneumatic, one is electronic, but it's the same thing. The balloon. That's my favorite. It's like when you hear Avril Lavigne's vocal track, they squish the balloon really flat, you know? And
What compressor do you like in conjunction with the 3 mics that you showed us for vocals?
I didn't
And
use any compression today. I always start out with an LA2. I mean, I always start with one, but these days I just go to the 660. The 660 has an LA2 in it. It has a RCA in it. It has a Fairchild in it. It's got all the modelings, and the modelings are actually accurate. I mean, you know, just because Greg is a friend of mine doesn't mean I still don't think he's a genius, you know?
So Justin, from what you've heard today, and let's say you had to record a pop vocal, which of the mics would you choose and why, based on what John taught you?
With what John taught me, I'd probably start with the 5040 just because I love the way it sounds. I'm a bright kind of person though. I like that bright tone. But the 521 or the 421, my bad, is probably my second go-to mic. Out of the 3 here, the Ribbon's my last just because I don't like that muddy sound. But John can tell me all day how he wants me to back up and stuff. But I'm gonna stick with the 421 or the 5040.
Yeah, see, he
Okay.
hasn't learned what a ribbon really does yet. So the thing is, and that's fine. The fact that he's just heard the 421 just in the last couple of days, and it's already in his mind. And
No, I liked it. Really sounded really nice in here, at least. I mean, I've never used it in my home studio, but the 421 sounded amazing in here today. I like the mid-range how it pushed through.
Well, Justin, I'll give you a little piece of history. I was always terrified of ribbon microphones because when John and I started, you could put them in front of a guitar amp and blow them up real
Yeah.
easy, and we did, and it was very expensive. So it was, and then if you accidentally left the phantom power on, you ruined them. All sorts of things. So ribbon mics, when I started, were this voodoo thing that not too many people in Atlanta had, and they scared me. So I'll admit that my assistant Cole is a ribbon mic aficionado, and through Cole I'm starting to get comfortable with ribbon mics. It's part of my repertoire that's lacking behind. In terms of mic and guitars, I'm pretty good with ribbons, but the usage is in other areas. So don't feel bad, Justin. It'll come. It'll
I hear
come.
you.
well, the one thing
It came late to me too.
I didn't go over today because you don't see like Todd Rundgren in the old days. We used to use a half-inch, condenser microphone, like a 451. I would use a C28 with a gold foil capsule with a C28 head on it. But it's a very nice sounding microphone, and it does not have the resonations are all up in the 12 to 15K range. So it's got a whisper to it instead of the larger capsules, which have a thing. But we didn't go into that today because people don't normally use half-inch, capsules for vocals anymore. Although sometimes it's the right mic.
That was always my go-to mic for acoustic guitars and overheads. That was my acoustic guitar and overhead with a 10 dB pad for overheads. I used to love that mic, or still do actually.
I spent a lot of time picking really good sounding cymbals, and all of a sudden I realized I wasn't getting the sound. So now I've got a pair of Royer 122s overhead, and
Okay.
and I love them.
You agree with that, Justin, or you disagree?
Well, he's the one who's actually playing the drums, so I don't know. I'm curious to see what he says.
Look out. All right, John. Justin, why don't you do this? I was going to ask John to kind of wind up. Why don't you wind up what we learned today and then let John critique it and tell you what you did well and what you did poorly. So you got 60 seconds. Go, Justin.
All right, so we have condenser, ribbon, and we have a dynamic mic. The condenser is really bright. The ribbon is more muddy. You back off it sounds better. You put something behind it, it helps the sound. You got to mess with it. The ribbon's a little bit harder to work with. The 421 pushes through. That's the dynamic. They all have their different tones, but you pick, you choose. Be the producer for yourself.
How'd he do, John?
Well, he's not getting the second part of the whole thing, which is if you put in 100% on a condenser microphone, you generally get out about 100% plus maybe a little. On a dynamic microphone, you're getting about 80%. So you're getting a little bit of actual spectral compression. On the ribbons, you're actually getting a a smaller version of the whole thing, and they are harder to use. And once you get them, if you ever want to record high frequency instruments and percussion, pull out the ribbons, because nothing else is going to get it.
Everything we do, we use the ribbon.
Like I
as
think
far as the tambourines.
he played tambourine on something recently, and I had a 49 out, and then I said put the Royer up, and the difference was like listening to keys drop or listening to a beautiful tambourine.
Let me toss something in, Justin. If you're going from L.A. to Vegas and you're riding on freeways, a Bentley seems kind of nice, but if you have no roads and have to go all dirt, a Jeep's looking pretty good. There's no good mic or bad mic or good gear or bad gear. It's just different uses for different types of equipment, and sometimes something that you just labeled as bad sound actually sound appropriate on some things. So as you start this journey in audio, there's a use for everything. So I try to eliminate good and bad in terms of descriptions, but more how they are used and what they tend to do well. And that's just my 2 cents worth. Well, guys, I'm gonna wind this up, and John, thank you so much for spending time. I know you're really, really busy. Chung King is one of the top facilities in New York, and I imagine that it was kind of difficult to scrape out a couple of minutes for us, but we really do appreciate that. And thank you so much, my friend. You know what, John? I'm going to give you the last word. What do you want to say?
I'm going to see you out in LA in a couple of weeks because I got to come out. I'm doing a little bit of electronic work with somebody, and I hope to come by and see you.
Great. All right, guys. We'll see you next week on Into the Lair. Bye-bye.